Alright, welcome back to Terra Invicta, where my voice is slightly recovered, and so we've got frame for an episode. What we're planning to do this session is all about solidifying, consolidating our resources, and getting ready for the next step. So, what does that mean? That means continuing our fight in space, although for the moment we are under the hate cap again, so we've got a moment to breathe while we build the next new generation of ships, but if there are any surveillance vessels or whatever that come into orbit, I will blast them. It is worth it. Resource consolidation means completing forward Russia, which will allow us to sweep in, eventually consolidate the European Union, although that union will take a little while because it'll mean having to knock every nation out of the European Union other than the country called the European Union so that the European Union can join the Eurasian Union. Yeah, that won't get confusing. Other things we need to do, we need to hit tier 3 habitations, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, just checking I'm following my rule. We need colony habs. We need ring habs in order to start consolidating and upgrading our infrastructure. And then we need to start getting the ship technologies while we're working on all that. So I've got tin droplet radiator, which is the radiator we'll be using for most of our ships. May as well pick it up while we got the chance. Then eventually we're going to need a drive, or at least a drive that's functional for defensive work, even if we're not going to be going out to the Kuiper Belt or even necessarily to Jupiter. Because of our rules that say no fusion, basically I think our drive progression is going to be, we have to go advanced fission, so we actually have a power source for anything that is not all of our settlements that are not based at Mercury. And then from advanced fission, we're going to need to go into antimatter. Then we're going to need functional weapons, we're going to need armor, we're going to need all little bits and pieces that go into it. I already have quantum battery, I'm going to have tin droplet radiator, so I'm going to have 2 of the components, but there is a long, long way to go. So we're going to consolidate Eurasia. Once Eurasia is consolidated, we'll have a bunch of CP cap free. At that point, we can take full control of China, finish Pan-Asia Cooperative, and start using that to absorb locations that are loyal to the servants in Asia. That's the plan, at least. We're also at some point going to have to kick the servants out of their CP in the European Union, because eventually this is going to give them so much MC. I don't want that, so we're going to have to knock them out at that point. But expect a series of corporate expansions and compulsory merger and acquisition moves as Paris gets... Let's just say Paris is going to channel its Napoleonic spirit for a while in order to bulk out the European Union to make absorption by the Eurasian Union just that little bit more efficient. Other thing that we have done, we have researched cybernetics, so all of our counselors will get a serious upgrade. And what I do here is, because all it costs is money, for level 1 cybernetics, I buy everyone everything that isn't the loyalty monitor. Loyalty monitor tells you how loyal they are in exchange for reducing the maximum and current loyalty by 5. It's not worth it. Just get their loyalty high, and if you need to inspect, send a investigator after them, do it. But you get Scrambler, +1 espionage against detection, and +1 espionage in general. Fantastic, great defensive. Intelligent assistant, +1 administration. Great. What you can do is you can push your admin above 25, go to 28, and then you can drop one of your admin orgs in order to make space for another org. And sometimes that's legitimately an efficient thing to do, because if an organization is boosting your admin, sometimes it's not doing anything else. Like those shitty little 1-star orgs that give you 3 admin. There's a good example. That's a 2-star org. All it really gives you, minus monthly income, a little bit of economy and spoils in exchange for income. This is just here for the admin. These are not good orgs if you eventually have the admin to replace them. Embedded sensors is investigation when investigating, plus investigation base. Fantastic. +1 security and +1 espionage against detection. +1 science and 3 science income, and force trackers +1 command, which may as well, if you're not going to be using them for command jobs, just be considered +1 CP, because command increases your CP cap. So I'm going to cyberize all of my people, and then get ready for our next expansion, I think. And while I want to move pretty quickly up until we get colony habs, because that's where I think this episode's going to get interesting. We're on focus. Terra Invicta, as I said, it's a very long game. You need to move through it if you're recording it. I do want to take a moment to think about specific moments that are interesting. So what you'll notice here is that the forces of France, which we're calling the European Union, but it's actually just France and Portugal, have concentrated here in southern France, Spain, the executive is under our control. It has been stripped of its allies. The Spanish military is maneuvering, and what we will do once to minimize casualties is once war is declared, we will move the Spanish army out of the way into Portugal, long enough for the Brits and their next generation equipment to roll in to Madrid and add Spain and its 11 mission control to the European Union. As you can see, Mallory is also preparing the ground in the Alpine States. The Alpine States is really important because we have a lot of armies that don't have navies. But once the Alpine States is taken, armies without navies can move from the European Union to the Eurasian Union to China, and then if they need to, from China to India. So it doesn't look like it, but we will actually have a land bridge between all of our territories if the Alpine States can be secure. Plus it's got research, plus it's got mission control. So we will smooth things over with Exodus, but Spanish and Alpine integration is ultimately non-negotiable. Ignore the I think that's probably First Guards. Yeah, ignore First Guards Tank Army also popping up in the... They're here to help. Okay, so as you can see, it's March 2031. Europe is undergoing some significant remodeling. Spain has joined the Blue Blob, and the Eurasian Union has grabbed the Alpine States. This is critical because the land bridge that runs all the way from Portugal to the southern tip of China, to the southern tip of India is now active. So we can actually, if we needed them, we could move the Indian army without boats. Why can we not move that to... Oh, I know what it will be. It's because India is not allied with China. So if we ally India with China, then the Indian army, which I'm not doing for various reasons, because the way we're going to kick humanity first out of China is probably by invading China. At the request of China, we will invade China in order to save the Chinese executive from the nation's security apparatus and oligarchs. So basically, whoever is ruling China in 2031 is going to get really sick of the oligarchs and the security agencies to the point where he asks the foreign army to come to Beijing and throw them out. That's basically how that's going to go. So the remodeling of Europe absolutely undergoing good clip. We will need to absorb Slovakia, because we need to kick them out of the European Union, because if Slovakia... There are now only 3 countries in the European Union. The European Union country is in the EU, Slovakia is in the EU, the United Kingdom is in the EU. If we absorb Slovakia and the UK leaves, then at that point Eurasia and the European Union can federate and start the countdown timer on unification. So Slovakia, absolutely objective number 1, despite being relatively small. It's worth the council of time to get. We've also got some ships out and on the way. So if I turn on ships and off everything else, we have Noble 34 and Noble 36, which are transferring one to the best servant mine and one to the best protectorate mine in the asteroid field. These are very basic ships. This is the SPAC Block 2, Special Purpose Acquisition Company, or whatever the acronym is, I forget. I check and I recall correctly, it is in fact Special Purpose Acquisition Company. So, it's a merger and acquisition device in the merger and acquisition series. Basically, this is our old marine transport, but we took away the old chemical rocket, we strapped on 3 advanced pulsar nuclear drives, and as a result we have a still very cheap vessel, other than in propellant. There's a lot of... This thing is more than 50% propellant by mass, normally. But it does give it 35 kps delta V, which means it can go comfortably out into bases in the asteroid field, drop marines on them, refuel, and then we can abandon the base, because we don't want the MC utilization, but we can take it away from our opponents. If we look at our intelligence, Protectorate are far over, servants aren't quite over, but you can see taking one big mining base is probably going to be enough to neuter each of them, or at least severely slow their roll when it comes to space growth. So, along with acting against them on Earth, that's probably in order. We are still over the hate cap. We are still going to be attracting retaliations, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm not showing every vessel I shoot down, but I'm also building up my battle fleets slightly so that we have the ability to shoot down more types of ships. We still have the Kinetic Research Corps on Terra, and we have a battle fleet on Mercury. Not that it's much of a battle fleet, but the new combat vessel temporarily... This is the Covered Call, which desperately, this is the old version of the Covered Call, desperately needs to be updated with a tin droplet radiator as soon as it's finished. because the current radiators are trash compared to tin droplets. Basically, this is a advanced pulsar missile boat, which sounds like it should be more expensive, but actually gives you a lot more delta V and flexibility, while at the same time meaning you don't have to carry anywhere near as much propellant. These things only have 9 units of propellant, and to be honest, they could get away with less. 11 kps is probably overkill for orbital duties, but it makes me feel good. Max combat acceleration 1.5 Gs, that's good. 2 Vipers, 2 magazines, and the extra propulsion means that you can actually carry significantly additional armor. So we're up to 8 armor, and we actually have side armor, which means we can maneuver away from, say, mag rounds, which is 1.5 Gs is not great for it, but it's something. Long distance we can move. What I'm really racing for, however, is the ring habs and colony habs, and that's what I'm going to try and jump to, because those are what sort of move me into the next space infrastructure phase. I'm beginning to consolidate my infrastructure and get ready for a potential jump into a more aggressive war footing, but only once we have some level 3 bases that are capable of defending themselves, equipped with proper research facilities, etc. I also have to think about how much mission control I want to dedicate to research universities. They generate heaps of research. It's like 180 each on a tier 3 facility. However, they cost 1 mission control each. This is a definite trade-off. Anyway, let me get forward closer to that point. Alright, time skips over. We are now where I want to be to cover this episode. So, we are in June 2031. Again, time is really racing forwards, but that's okay. We're going to try and make up for lost time. Now, 2 things are happening. One, Slovakia is being... The merger and acquisition process for Slovakia is going to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the Slovak army south, while all the other armies converge heading to Bratislava, and at that point all we need to do is federate the Eurasian Union and the European Union and start the countdown timer, which would be fantastic. The UK has gone through Brexit, and then another priority for Europe will be ignore the bloody protectorate is throwing humanity first out of the southern Balkans. So America has rebuilt its military just enough to be able to pick on a country without a military. So here they are in the southern Balkans. So what we can do is we can focus on countries. If I was super patient, and I'm not, it's too late for this. We could spend 20,000 research points to get the tech that gives Europe a claim on Turkey and absorb Turkey, then absorb the European Union. But I actually don't think it's worth 20,000 research points and all the delay just to get Turkey. I think it's more important to get China consolidated, use the CP to consolidate China as soon as possible, and then start expanding in Asia using Pan-Asian Cooperative. I think that's just better. So we will do that. I'm not in a huge rush to absorb things like Germany or the Benelux, both because they're resistance controlled. I can do it anytime, so that there's no harm. But things like Ireland, where the European Union has claims but Eurasia doesn't, we're going to have to absorb that with the European Union in order to get its 5 MC. And Ireland's just nice. I like Ireland. So we need to absorb it, and then we can join the EU, Eurasia, and they can. I'm sure the Irish will be very happy to be part of the Eurasian Union, which has had some alien shenanigans going on. We had a Terra mission which has broken into the bureaucracy, but we will reclaim that this turn. The other thing we have just done is we have researched. 2, 3, 4. I always check because I've caught myself missing it. It's out of force of habit. Just making sure that I'm always following the rule of 50% down here, 50% up here. I guarantee there have been violations this run, but I'm policing it as best I can. We have tier 3 ground habs, and we're working on tier 3 space habs. We only have 106. We have 106 MC used, 5 MC in construction. I have some stuff I can abandon. But for the moment, I think the upper MC cap that we're working with is about 125. Let me just think about that for a moment. 80 by 0.6 would be like 48, which is about as close as you can get. And then we've multiplied that by 1.25 twice, which would be 100. Yeah, it would be about 100. Would be 125. So I can spend at least 10 MC upgrading ground bases right now. Then I can spend maybe another 6, I'm sure I'll get MC saving, 6 upgrading stations in Earth orbit. And then I can be decommissioning MC while that happens. I want to upgrade 1 location on Mars for reasons that I'm sure will become apparent later. And then we need to see how much MC we can free up for research facilities. So let's go have a look at what Tier 3 is going to look like on Mars. So let's go, not Mars, Mercury. Let's go look at our bases on Mercury and decide we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8. Ideally, you'd want to upgrade all of them, but I think we're going to start with 5. We also have a station in orbit. The previous small one got blown up, so we're working with what we got for the moment. I also don't think... One thing that we learned our lesson is I went cheap. I had a nanofab in orbit. I didn't have a nanofab on the ground, which is going to slow down the rebuilding process. We will not make that mistake again. So what I'm looking at here is the really good resource yields. So we got 109.28, 60, 95.23. Really looking for nobles yields, 89.26. Nowhere's really got a fissile. This one's got a fissile yield. This is probably the best one. So, upgrade. Because I don't want to spend all my points on Mercury, because building on Mercury it's great for industries that are energy intensive. And it's probably the most defensible location other than Earth orbit. And Earth orbit only because of the battle fleet's presence. So we'll pick, maybe we start with 4 colony cores to upgrade. Maybe 5. I'm sure I'll be able to consolidate some MC elsewhere. That's upgrading. Because it's just so... The next level up, the bases are just so much more efficient. Even if you just stick to Tier 2 facilities, adding 2 more sets of locations where you can build for 2 more MC, it's better, plus you can use Tier 3 facilities. So Tier 2, Tier 3, it's just a good upgrade. So I'm going to go through and make these. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's upgrade another one. 5. So at this point, we will now go to 121, 123 with upgrade 1 in Earth orbit, upgrade 2 with another in Earth orbit. They will be done in July. So I need to go to some of the stations I've captured using my Marines. I believe I have all locations. These are all Earth orbit. This one, I took Frederick the Great base. It's rebuilding. So what we need to do is we need to power down this nanofab, power on this space dock, use that to recharge Noble 36, which I've landed at the base. The other option would be to scuttle it, because it is at a shipyard. So we'd get 25% of resources back. The only question is, do I want it? I think the answer is I do want it. So we're going to refuel, repair and resupply it. That'll take 6.1 days. And then we can try and sell the base to someone that we like, so they can get use out of that resource generation. That would be the ideal. And then I need to start the decommissioning process, because decommissioning takes... either we sell it or we decommission it. Decommissioning takes 120 days, so selling would be faster. So basically what I'm going to go through is I'm going to start being very ruthless. Anything that I don't need is going to get sold. Anything that I want to keep is going to get kept, obviously. So the question is, do I want to go to the Mars base? Because do I want to set up a research facility on Mars is the other question. Because we have this Fizzle's location, Arabia Terra, especially if we lose Luna, this is a place that I might actually be willing to go to upgrade in terms of mining facilities, similar with like the really good Nobles locations. So, although it's the fact that 70 Nobles are coming from one location. So I've got to pick one location on Mars that will be upgraded with fission reactor arrays to potentially be an research generating location. Because even though research generation is energy intensive, it's also resource intensive, and I'm not sure how much they're going to cost on Mercury. So I might upgrade either Arabia Terra or Olympus Mons. I think the answer is Arabia Terra. 4, 5. Yeah, okay, that'll be okay. I'll be able to decommission some ships here and there. I'll be able to consolidate some infrastructure. I'll talk to some other factions, see what I can sell them, because the other source of consolidation in terms of staying under MC cap is going to be the fact that I am just going to consolidate the Earth space infrastructure. I'm probably going to go down from this number of stations to maybe 3 or 4, ditching 2 at least, so I can sell some pre-owned stations. Because there's a lot of MC that can be consolidated more efficiently into a few that are also easier to defend with a couple of platforms at a fleet. So that is probably what I'm going to do. And in terms of technology, while I'm at it, we do want Research Campus, but I'm going to temporarily swap. I forgot that I shelved Ferrocite Resistance. I didn't complete it. Okay, so while it would be great to complete Ferrocite Resistance, and I normally like to be working through one Xeno at a time, I'm actually going to bring in gas core fission. So I'm going into advanced fission here. Let's just have a little look at the tech tree. So we haven't gone into fusion at all. Instead, we're going into advanced fission. It goes to heavy pulse propulsion. We're not going to go to heavy pulse propulsion. Heavy pulse is using hydrogen bombs exploding behind your ship to propel them, but that's a lot of investment for a dead-end technology. But we can go to advanced fission. So advanced fission, all good. Let's have a look at the full tree. What I'm thinking, let me have a look at where it is. I think it's called the Firestar. There we are. Awesome. So now we're basically in the fission tree. By going to advanced fission, we can eventually go down a series of gas core drives, gas core reactors. So I've got gas core 1, and you want to, there's so many unlocks and they take time to unlock that it's going to take time, so I want to do them quickly. We've got gas core 1, then we need gas core 2, then we need terawatt gas core 1, terawatt gas core 2, terawatt gas core 3, and then we get the Firestar drive. That drive looks like, paired with the terawatt gas core reactor, which only weighs 1 ton per gigawatt, and the Firestar being an open cycle drive, we'll talk about this when it gets to ship to design later, that looks at that might be a decent defensive drive. It's only got a 61% chance of unlocking. I can improve that by increasing the science rating of my counselors, but hopefully, and if not, there are other drives along the way we might be able to use. The other thing we can look at is what advanced fission unlocks, because if we're not going to go fusion, then we're kind of stuffed in a lot of regards. It is an interesting challenge not being able to go fusion. Whoops. Tech tree. Alright, so advanced fission, full tree. Because what it leads to are all the reactor techs, but also if you go up over here, fission reactor farm. Heavy fission reactor farm. I'm pretty sure this requires advanced fission. Yes, it does. It requires advanced fission systems. It requires ring habs or colony habs we've got. So if we get advanced fission and heavy fission reactor array, we can eventually get fission reactor farms and heavy fission reactor farm. Now, this is nowhere near as good. Absolutely, this is complete trash compared to the heavy fusion reactor farms that you can get through fusion, but we can get them so much sooner, and we're actually allowed to get them under the house rules. So this says 187 power generation per month in exchange for 0.75 fissiles. So fissile production is going to be a thing, but we got a deep bank, 3.4 thousand. That's a deep bank. As long as we don't go into engines that eat shit tons of fissiles, and the engine I'm looking at doesn't, it's a hydrogen engine, then we can dedicate a lot of our fissile income to running these reactor farms, which will enable us to turn Mars or Earth orbit locations into more efficient producers than they would be in a universe where we're relying on solar. The fission reactor farm base is 125 power, and then we can go heavy reactor for 187 power, which we will do. So that's the plan. Fission gives you results sooner because it's a more proven technology. Fusion's a bit more pie in the sky. So we'll use this as our power generation, and then our energy research is going to have to shift from being fission focused to being antimatter focused. But it takes so long to get all the antimatter stuff set up that I need a stopgap, and that stopgap I intend to be fission. Meanwhile, the aliens have found one of my escorts that previously managed to destroy an interception attempt. This is right before it managed to get to its original destination, which is unfortunate, so the other marine transport will have to do it. We're going to accept an auto-resolve and they're going to destroy us because we had no missiles left in the tube. So this is the nature of attritional warfare. Alright, this one by contrast is another illustration of that classic, what I've been doing for this episode and last episode, which is an example of a retaliation mission, which really isn't a retaliation mission when you think about it. Because frankly, we have the firepower to settle the score pretty quickly here. So we're going to drift, engage, and claim another gunship. The aliens claim some of ours, but it's not stopping us destroying some of them in turn. So the reason I did decide to show this is so we can have a look at the new covered call. This is the pre-tin radiator version, which were unfortunately a bit noble metals intensive. That's okay. What I could be doing if I didn't have the chemical rocket one over here, the achievement 3, block 3, which is still somehow in bloody service, is what you can do is we could accelerate the covered calls at the start, like burn using those advanced pulsars, to get even more launch velocity on the missiles and to group the salvos closer together. But for something like this, where the target just doesn't have a hope in the world, grouping the missiles is probably not as important. That should probably be enough to see him out of orbit. Just got to keep an eye on to make sure any destroyers don't make it into orbit either. Obviously, they always damage our radiators. We can't suck our radiators in because we carry magazines rather than heat sinks, so we can't retract radiators. But you know what? That's fine. I'd rather spend a tiny amount of resources repairing the radiators each battle. We also don't generate any heat. The missiles don't. We don't burn the engines, so we're okay even with destroyed radiators. 1.9 exotics. And we made 11 nobles off that. I'll see how much it takes to repair, but I'm guessing we salvage more from that battle than will cost us to... about the same. So we about paid even, plus we got exotics, plus we destroy a ship. So easy attrition. Hans is happy to buy that material science station I had in orbit that hasn't quite finished construction yet. Now, it's a bit early to consolidate because I want to level up, but it's the only hab he's willing to buy. He's willing to give me... I mean, I don't really want rail cannons. This technology is free, so I need Marine Company barracks eventually. I guess it's free. I'll see if he has any nice augs. If not, I'll farm some boost. But this will be a good relationship with humanity first, and this will give him some interface bonuses. I think the reason he wants it is because it's going to give him a whole bunch of research interface bonus to military investment, which humanity first loves doing. But yeah, this is our first case of shedding some MC that we don't need, so we can consolidate it into a smaller number of higher level installations. There we go, a nice friendly family coup in Ireland, which is fantastic. It was already rivaled with Eurasia and the European Union, so a quick policy decision, and yeah, we'll you reckon the you know what, I'm just going to say it. We're going to send the British Army into the Republic of Ireland in order to force it into the European Union. There you are. Look, that's what... It's for a good cause. And that good cause is maximised corporate profitability. Alright, so instead of... I set policy, and I realised that instead of going to Ireland... I'll go to Ireland next turn. We had to get this started. How bizarre is this? The European Union, under the control of the Initiative, has decided to join in the Federation with the Eurasian Union. They will be in a permanent alliance and share space programs, funding, and boost. The countdown is 27 February 2032. About half a year. Then we'll get all the CP cap that we could ever want to enable us to go into China, set the stage for Pan-Asian Cooperative, to continue the consolidation of Europe. We will finally be able to be well consolidated in that sense. What the? Oh shit! I'm accidentally spoiling the EU. So it must have built its last available MC point. For some reason, that defaults to spoils. Sorry, European Union. That was very much not intentional. We'll figure out what to build while we wait. 142 million people. Like, it might make sense to build. Funding's not good. Might make sense to squeeze some extra boost in for space facilities. What I might do is, let's go boost. Let's go, we get 1 point of welfare, so let's spend it there. The knowledge we don't really need. It's much better, much more efficiently spent once we're already in the Eurasian Union. Same with economy. So let's build boost and our compulsory 1 point of welfare. And I think that's basically all I want to do until it's time for the two unions to be joined. Now, to be clear, it would be much better for the overall state, for the European Union to eat the Eurasian Union. But that's just not very initiative of us. Our Russian oligarch has used the Eurasian Union as a tool for corporate profitability. And it's time that Europe got with the program. 100% sure that the people of Dublin will be welcoming the British and European merger and acquisition teams into Ireland.
Here's what we've found.
Yeah, let's maybe retreat the We'll retreat the Irish army into Northern Ireland in order to limit the amount of combat that takes place. But you know what? Yeah, look, it's for a good cause. Let's just look at all the rest of the world and all the useful, profitable things we are doing. Look, we're hunting aliens in Southeast Asia. Focus here, citizen. Alright, so our first upgraded locations are ready, and this is fantastic. Now, building level 3 facilities on Mars and Mercury is great. We'll start with Mercury. The problem with Mercury will be the extra metal cost, but I'm still tempted to upgrade more of our settlements as soon as I'm confident we can get the MC cap dealt with. So, we've moved up to level 3 colony core. There are lots of things we want to do. The first thing is we want to slap down... How much spare power do we have? That's 280. So I can power this thing on one generator at the moment. So let's upgrade this solar farm. And that'll give us a crap ton of power. The next thing we need to slap down is an agriculture complex, which I finished researching. This saves 87 water, 87 volatiles a month in terms of upkeep. We're not going to get close to that using T2 facilities, but we will absolutely do it using T3. So if we upgrade the farm, 120 days. We need a nano factory. We actually eventually need the level 3 equivalent, but we need a nano factory. Now, I could build these research campuses. I won't. They're shit. So instead, for the moment, we're going to fill out this area with level 2 research facilities while we go and research level 3s. But that'll give us a huge boost. In fact, I might not even start building level 2s because it won't take us that long to get the level 3s. But this is the basic infrastructure. An agriculture complex, a nanofab, level 3 power generation. Life is good. And then once this one's done, we'll have plenty of power. 834 power, and we can upgrade that solar array in time. So I'm going to repeat that process with each of these. Check if you have the extra power. You don't. If you don't, fresh solar farm, and then you can replace those later. This one doesn't have a farm on it, so we'll slap an agricultural complex down. These two will be defense locations. I don't think this location needs a nanofab, so we'll leave it for the moment. 2 power free, so again, needs a generator, farm upgrade. Come back to it in a minute. 107 power. Solar farm. And you can see, it's 166 metal to do these. These buildings are not cheap on Mercury. You do need to shield them. Building these research labs is costing 20 metal. The upgraded ones will cost more. But the power generation is so good here, and it's really defensible. Like, it's a bitch for the aliens to get to Mercury. And 166 metal, absolutely, like, we spent less than a month's income on that, and we will spend several months' income getting the science facilities down. Still think it's worth it. Go to Mars. Here's our level 3 facility over here. And Mars, the problem is we don't have tier 3 power generation yet. I'm working on it. But an agricultural complex is going to still be a good idea. The problem is it'll just need its own fission farm, which I am researching now to produce it. So we're doing fission reactor farm, ring core. I'm actually going to temporarily delay Pan-Asian Combine. Yes, I know, heresy. We don't want anything that's going to... I want gas core after I get... I want gas core after I get... I don't want to double up on energy. So after I have the fission farm, I can do gas core fission 3. So for the moment, what do we want? We want... Let's start with the Materials Institute. Let's start with the Materials Institute. I may even want to deprioritize. There's nothing really to deprioritize. Getting these level 3 research facilities, July, August, September. Yep, it's still worth waiting to start getting more of these institutes. Ring core will finish in August. I think what I might do as a holdover is slap down a couple of extra skunk works on Mercury just to get a little bit of value in the interim. How much do they cost? Yeah, 47 metal each. So I'm happy to eke out just a little bit of extra temporary efficiency. These will become tier 3 research labs, but I'm going to add some extra skunk works to push engineering faster in the interim. Alright, Britain, come on. Battlefield monitors have identified the 1st Division under our command as being responsible for the bulk of the casualties in Dublin, an enormous amount of civilian casualties and economic damage. This is placing unwelcome scrutiny on the actions being carried out in the name of the initiative and on our political supporters in the United Kingdom. Well, we can't have that. We can't have that either. I don't want to crack down on the control point. We fund the relocation and rehabilitation of the people involved. Days before integration day, which is very frustrating. But I think it's worth it to ensure that Ireland's mission control is appropriately integrated. We're down to 455 over 469 CP, which means we've got enough room to go after another European country. The Northern Balkans is a candidate, so is the Benelux. We'd go over our cap slightly, but I think it would be a fantastic integration. And, 10 mission control. Can I has? And while I'm not showing every engagement, rest assured that I am trying to farm retaliations where I can, that I'm trying to get these engagements where I can, that I will lose assets occasionally, but I like to keep this slow burn. I think we're dipping low 50s right up towards the top of the 40s in terms of hate level. So we're oscillating between war and peace, depending on how much I want to poke them, basically. But a constant low level of engagement means, if we look at the aliens overall, they should have expanded considerably. Yeah, they're at 89 ships in 2031. They should have more than that. But I reckon I've shot down, I don't know, reasonable number of ships, like 20 ships at this point. Maybe more. I don't know. It's a reasonable number of engagements. And the idea is if I could just pinch off, continually inflict a slow amount of attrition, the chance of them deathballing something I can't deal with is lower, especially at these levels of hate. That's the plan.
Li Qingzhao, presenting an award for AI Outstanding Case Practice.
Alright, so as well as the Chancellor there, just depressing everyone who works in anything that might eventually be obsoleted by AI, fully or partially, I have messed up slightly. We completed self-replicating software. This is the prerequisite for level 3 research building, and not level 3 research buildings in general, just the research university. So I thought I would pick it up. However, I messed up. I did not get control of the research slot, because no one's helping me out on advanced vision. They're leaving me to hang and just push this myself, which is bloody annoying, because I need this a lot. Visible combat lasers, that one's important. Weapons technology has a lot. There's a deep deficit. We need to push that ahead. But I wanted to use this slot too. I missed it, and as a result, we're doing space tourism. All right, we're doing space tourism. It's a diversion. It'll only take until 5 October apparently. But really, guys, that's the priority right now. Really? Oh, look, we all knew it was going to happen. The European Union and the various nations of the Benelux are now in a punch-on, while the United States is starting another war. We'll check what that one is in a moment. For the moment, let's move the European Union UK military blob. The United States is at war with Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and still at war with nuclear-armed Vietnam. It is an anocracy. It is fragmented socially, but at least unrest is low, I guess. The education levels are not bad. It's just that the quality, the democracy is now doubtful. Inequality is moderate, but social cohesion is in the absolute pit. So the US is doing like better than I've seen it in some playthroughs, but maybe it's the desperate attempt to rebuild the military, the navy, and the nuclear arsenal might be having some effect on diversion of resources to other things. Okay, this is interesting. Phoebe explosion. There's been a massive explosion on Saturn's moon Phoebe. Scientists around the world are baffled as to why this explosion occurred. While it is assumed to be the work of the mysterious aliens, there is no human presence on Phoebe for them to have attacked. The current leading theory is the aliens suffered some sort of industrial accident while constructing a base there, although this would indicate that their power source is extremely volatile. Interesting. And we've completed the decommissioning of that base. Excellent. So if I go to my Earth habs, I'll need to turn on orbitals. I'm upgrading 4. That's all I need in Earth orbit. So I've used my quota for Earth. That's fine. So I have 3 quota available. I can either divert it to... I think the appropriate move at this point is to go to the Mercury orbital, because you need a defensible shipyard around Mercury, right? And this will eventually also be antimatter production. So we'll upgrade that to 124 MC used. And then if we can shed 1 or 2 ships, that'll provide room for research campuses as soon as that tech is unlocked. And we do have to be aware of this. I've noticed that the Protectorate has actually been building up a significant fleet, which might be why they're over their MC cap. Oh, no, they're back under it. 82 of 83. They must have lost some habs. Resistance is under... Well, everyone else is being held to the cap that they have researched the technology for. So Humanity First has probably got strategic deception, if they're at 102. Resistance at 86, Exodus, they are probably facing minor alien retaliation. But let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this Protectorate fleet. Interesting, okay, so we've got 5 units. Wow, okay, they've got more combat ships out than me. Let's see if they're shit. This is a battleship. Advanced Pulsar. 14,000 ton mass. Graphene battery. Artemis, 30mm autocannon, 12-inch cannon. So huge offensive missile power and electronic countermeasure defense. Interesting. Okay, so looking at it closer, this ship is pretty awful, but still very dangerous. It's lots and lots of torpedoes. It has basically no armor, its seawind sucks, it has 63 propellant tanks in order to enable it to maneuver in the inner system, because at the end of the day, advanced pulsar and solid fission drives are just not enough to push a 14,000 ton, 200 meter long battleship effectively and efficiently. Plus, it really is a battleship. It's got a 12-inch cannon. Like, it is a dreadnought. What do we got here? This is a interdictor, 111 armor. I hate it. This one's got a point defense laser turret though, and 3 torpedo bays. This passes. Holy! The weapon scheme passes. The armor doesn't. 88 propellant tanks to get this thing its 40 kps. I kind of want to go blow this thing up just to ruin their economy. Most ships aren't doing anything. I could go blow up the Protectorate fleet. But at the same time, I kind of like their spending mission control against their mission control cap on useless freaking ships. They might build habs, like actual productive resources, if I take this away from them. Otherwise, I might blow up the fleet, but I have to be aware that it exists. The point where I have defenses on my stations can't come soon enough. Artemis torpedo bay, point defense laser, again, 88 10-inch cannon, 80. So the Protectorate has built ships that can do things. They have enough Delta V to move pretty freely between Luna, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Earth. Like, they've got the DV to make that move at least slowly. They have a lot of weapons. They have very little armor. And they have so much fuel mass. So much fuel mass. Like, let me just check this. The Protectorate makes 140 units of water a month. 140 decatons. They need to operate their mines for a quarter of a year to refuel their battleship once. Alright, moving on. And I've just seen a notification that Exodus has defeated the aliens in a space battle at Furukawa Station. So, I'm assuming this is the survivor. What have we got? Yeah, Artemis torpedoes, point defense laser, 240 centimeter infrared laser cannon on the nodes. This has got reasonable amounts of point defense, advanced pulsar, still 34 propellant tanks, but oh, it's a marine transport, elite marine assault unit. We don't have elite marines yet. Okay, we should get on that at some point. The radiator's not... This is okay. It needs more armor, it needs less propellant, but they're killing alien ships for me. What more can a man ask for? Alright, so we have another case of servant vessels and Xenos vessels operating alongside each other. Let's lock down our missile tubes. Interesting to see the servants working together. Their missiles are out. Since their missiles are out, we're going to launch our missiles. We don't have a defense against the missiles. So whatever ships have had missiles fired against them are probably dead. But what we can do is just fill the void with our own ordnance. Just making sure that targets have been appropriately divided. They have. And then hopefully the PD capability of the servant vessels is not sufficient to the task, but looks like we're going to lose 2 vessels to those missile spreads. The Ocean Fortress is my main concern. She's burning away as fast as she can. Hopefully the missiles have the DV to make it. I suspect they will. Okay, PD on one servant ship was insufficient. Ocean Fortress is down. Looks like the Corvina, the marine transport, actually survived. So we've just traded 2 of ours for 3 of theirs. That's okay, I'll rebuild 2 more covered calls. 9.92 exotics. But I just want to avoid too much accumulation. So I'm actually happy with this. I'm not going to start a fight with a Protectorate. But a couple of servant vessels operating alongside the Xenos, that's okay. Although I'm worried that if I get too active, I might be facing action on Earth as well as in orbit. But you know what? It's almost time to be pretty aggressive anyway. I'm just really waiting for the European Union, Eurasian Union to merge so that we can get China into aggressive mode and start throwing the servants out of some of their home bases as well. But for the moment, I don't have the MC cap to go after their orbital infrastructure. But at some point I should. Alright, here is a bloody anime betrayal if ever there were one. My fleet had to fly back home. They had no missiles left in the tube. So the Protectorate has sent their battleship and this patrol escort. And I can't defend myself. All I can do is try and burn away and get a draw. But then they'll re-engage. Let's get maximum relative velocity. Let's target the big boffer. You have... and you target him. The only one that might escape is the Corvina. Because she's got the Delta V to do it. Let's go for it. The missiles are going to hit us first, but I think of it more as a statement of intent. And then we'll burn away. Nope, we're gone. Bloody bastards. Bastards, bastards, bastards. Okay, that is something the AI would never have done in A's past, but here we are. Let's hope they don't commit an atrocity by destroying my station. And I'll start rebuilding my bloody Earth defense fleet. What bloody traitors. Well, if we ever needed motivation to end their very existence, Mr. Banerjee, you have caused immense financial loss to the initiative. We'll be discussing potential compensation plans with you shortly. Alright, well I guess I'll just destroy this gunship around, where are we? Around Mars, just to make myself feel a little bit better. But I am never going to forgive bloody Banerjee. It's 1st of March 2032. I have been upgrading frenetically and fervently all of my HABs. I am waiting for I'm taking it slow and efficient in the sense that I haven't abandoned my extra low Earth stations yet, just waiting for more of the energy labs to come online so that I don't have a temporary breakdown in my technology. That slows my build up of new tech, but it gives me a little bit more redundancy in the short term. But I have gotten rid of one station, so I've got 2 remaining to get rid of, which will control this burst. I do have some research universities going. So research universities, for anyone who doesn't know, and I now know, after the changes to the game, this building here generates a shit ton of science. Really, 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 really good building. Problem, cost mission control cap. Cost mission control cap, which is a problem. So we're building a couple, but we can't afford to spam them, if that makes sense. They also require a lot of water and volatiles, but that's something you can take care of, and we have taken care of. In terms of where I have them being built, I think I have a couple on Mercury where they're expensive, but it's good to. I figure it's good to spread them around. There's one research university there. This is all ordinary stuff and foundries, solar farm, with an agriculture complex to help offset stuff. If you see me not upgrading all my buildings at the same time, this is so you always have some active so your research doesn't dive to like a 0% bonus. Like, I find it better, more efficient to stagger things. This is, we've got one research university in this one, and again, there will be an agricultural facility offsetting the problem over here. This one has 592 power, so while we're at it, let's slap this solar farm upgrade over here. So we have plenty of power when it's time to upgrade with our defensive stations. We don't have the tech to make our defensive stations effective yet, but you know, I'm waiting on that. I'm also getting really nervous. The aliens are building a lot more ships. They're putting a lot more pressure. If you just zoom out, you can see the victors are very active, staging retaliations, positioning, staging, etc. So I want to push up towards the techs. I'm doing coil guns now. Once one of these energy slots unlocks, because you get inefficiencies from running more than one at a time. We're currently running 2, which is inefficient. Antimatter containment was a mistake. It came early. I just clicked it because I was excited and forgot that no, that's far later in the research order. Once advanced fission systems is done, we're going to get arc lasers because we want to work towards phasers which require arc lasers and coil guns. So we need, and because arc lasers into phasers, phasers are the systems that make your ground-based defenses work from memory. So I want my HABs basically to be able to defend themselves because that's MC cheap rather than having large defense fleets initially. And then once we go loud, that buys me the time to then build the defense fleet, if that makes sense. But the reason I came back is because in a moment, I'll just refresh all these advised missions.
Offering counsel.
Because that boosts our science. Lucky Strike. Additional reserves. Okay. 25% boost to productivity at that mine. I'm not going to say no. I need everything that I can get. There's the layered defense array. That's the actual building.
Public opinion.
So we can build the layered defense building. What we can't build is anything to make it meaningful. I will fix this station up in a moment. This is our Mars station, so it's going to be every main body, Earth, Mercury, and Mars are all going to get a orbital station with shipyards and some defense arrays. Basically to anchor the defense. People are playing in Crimea, that's okay. The Xenos are hovering around. Here's the button I wanted. Bang.
We'll be ready for new orders soon.
I'm sure the economy expands in the Eurasian Union. It just grew to 522 million people. Okay, so this is the new Eurasian Union. Its military tech increased slightly from absorbing the EU. It's still an anocracy, but it did increase. GDP per capita is 31,700 per person. Knowledge standards are 9.1. Current cohesion is 4.8. Population 522 million. And I believe it has 7 armies. Most of them do not have navies. Only 2 of them have navies. But we combined the European and Eurasian military. That gives us a lot of extra CP to play with. So the smart thing to do, since we're still researching Pan-Asian Cooperative, is probably to quickly work on absorbing, with the greatest respect to the resistance, it's probably time to absorb Germany and Italy for their beautiful nearly 40 mission control points and collectively far more than 100 million extra population. That'll get the Eurasian Union up. We'll start pushing towards 7 once we start absorbing everyone in the area. Get some additional research. But yeah, that is a 162 mission control for the country. Love it. Welcome to the new Europe. Germany. Unfortunately, your presence is causing a really big problem, and that is there are currently messy borders. And we need to fix that. And I figure I should include some of these, but this is pretty common. Basically, they sail ships at me. Maybe I lose a ship, but most of the time I am able to successfully defend myself. But this, at this point, is constant, but probably still not constant enough for me to hold back the increasing tide of alien building at this stage of the game. Alien weapons are very deadly at this point in the game, so losing a ship is not something that is uncommon. But we're still at a point where Viper salvos can do the job. So I don't like situations like that where it's a one-to-one trade, but until we get our ships that are better, we can't evade their weapons at this point, and they're starting to come with much better equipment, much more deadly ships. So we're improving, but there is a cost involved. Like that.
By forcing others
advanced
to accept
vision.
our opinions.
Not sure I've ever done this tech before.
It occurs when we combine multiple ideas to create something new. Something better. Superior Judith Howell. Interview with the American Christian Television System.
I wish there was a button to specifically mute anything Judith Howell or Banerjee say, but there isn't. So we have advanced vision systems. So what we want to do now, even though it does mean sticking in double in energy, is I think we want to go arc lasers. I don't prioritize ultraviolet, it's very expensive. So in a game like this, if you're behind on research, or if you don't have the research you want, and you're never going to have the research you want, think about it as there's 2 things you can do to speed up your research. You can generate more research, or you can skip technologies. Because if you skip technologies, it's the same as getting to what you need sooner. Obviously there's more cost, but there's also a cost in generating more research. So I'm going to go with arc laser, which will then lead to phased array laser. And that will give us a weapon that defensive platforms can use, because we're about to finish fleet combatants, which is like battleships and whatnot, which was just something I know I was going to need later on, so I decided to do it now. We're going to get layered defense arrays, and a layered defense array plus phases means that nothing's defenseless. The aliens have to actually commit in order to destroy something, and that's a type of non-MC intensive defense that we can put in place before we go loud, so to speak. And yes, I am sending a Russian oligarch to take control of the Chancellor's office after we purge the Bundestag. But you know what? We have to remember who we're playing. And as the initiative, we're the good guys, we're the ones who get it. Yes, I have created a whole bunch of point defense arrays. Many point defense arrays, in fact, just because I want every station to have some defense. Will it stop aliens? No. Will it stop those assholes from the Protectorate? Maybe. So just dissuade them a little bit. Point defense arrays are shit, but now all of our stations have a little bit of combat power, at least on paper. Alright, so Germany is engulfed in a massive public relations scandal, it's making headlines across the nation. We can perform damage control. Yeah, how about people resign gracefully? Because you know what? It's probably not the most important because we've got the gang back together. The Brits, the French, the Russians, all the former Soviet gang, even the Greeks and whatnot, everyone's in on it. We're having a grand reunion in Berlin, guys, to celebrate the cause of European reunification. So there we are. This should be over pretty quickly. Hopefully 1st Division doesn't get up to any shenanigans this time around. That's not our station, thankfully. Axamata Station. Force of the Aliens defeated humanity first in a space battle at Hiei Station. Okay, so the other factions are providing a good distraction. We do need to find a representative of the resistance and apologise for the whole Germany thing. Whether they trust me enough to then ignore it when I inevitably do an Italy thing, we will see. But the sooner I can clean up Europe, the sooner we can properly allocate CPs to Asia, which is something I'm working towards as quickly as I can, because, you know, got to push up these two all-important numbers. And they are, to some extent, unrelated. Unused mission control does create research. Not a huge amount, but we're getting 11.3 per day out of our unused MC. Okay, Operation Berlin Reunion is complete. Oh, work-related stress. Alexander, are you having second guesses and thoughts about the Grand Berlin Reunion? He's experienced a shift in personality. So this is what happens if you've had your guys basically since the start. Eventually they can develop new traits to reflect the fact that they have been working full-time at emergency, like, surge levels for 10 years. So, addict or indulgent... He'll lose... Ooh, we would lose ethical. Alexander. Have the others rubbed off on you? We're going to obsolete that. Ooh, advanced prospecting surveys. I like that. Set as favorite. So let's have a look at where you're at now, Alexander. You're a national hero. Fanatic. Wow, okay, Alexander's had a change of heart. No longer is he ethical. He's decided he's turned to the dark side. He's decided that the initiative is where it's at, that he is a true believer in the cause of the initiative. And he has seen the benefits of corporate rule, and he is now determined to do everything to... I guess it's because he's watched the terrible things that have happened to his homeland. Let me just check one thing. Almost there. 2 more XP and he can get Chief Astronomer, which is what I want to get for him next. He must have been watching what's happened to his beloved United States of America, while the rest of the world has prospered, I say, under the rule of the initiative. So there you go. Alexander's great change of heart. Okay, so even though it's going to cost us some energy research efficiency, I really need more energy centers at all costs, because I'm just doing so much energy research at this stage of the game. Terawatt gas core fission reactor. This is a fission reactor line that at its top level, I think, is nowhere near as good as what the fusion line can give you, but might be good enough if we unlock the right engines, because it might give us the power we need. So I am going to unlock Terawatt gas core 1. We need to go all the way up to gas core 3, I think, in order to roll for the drive that I want. So fingers crossed on that one, but there are a couple of other not as good but still pretty good drives that we might unlock along the way. Something better than advanced pulsar, let's put it that way. As we get to the end of this episode, 2 things are about to happen. Firstly, a compulsory merger of Italy's space facilities into the Eurasian Union, which at this point is basically just a giant space agency, complete with 185 ground-based mission control. The addition of Italy as the lawyers are sent in with the merger force, made up of the entire Eurasian and most of the UK military. The Eurasian military is it's okay, it's Information Age 4.1, but the UK is rolling in with an effective mil score of 5.8, which is excellent. So a speedy occupation, a smooth merger and integration process. another 15 MC. At that point, it'll just be the Balkans. The Balkans have, I think, 6 MC between them. And of course, it will soon be time to roll into China and clear out those 2 CP over there as well. A couple of quick technologies have plus 10 CP cap attached to them, so I might grab them. But what I really need is my answer to the great betrayal that just happened. There we are, Ferrocite resistance. We have completed Ferrocite resistance. Until we can ascertain some means of overcoming the aliens' chemosensory-based mind control, we are ultimately doomed to be in their thrall. Needless to say, this is highly undesirable, but armed with the knowledge that ferrocites are not a mere chemical signal, but in fact living cells, we have been able to formulate a treatment that shields humans from their effects. A vaccine, as it were, albeit one which requires regular booster shots.
Our research into the alien is finally returning favorable results and potential product lines.
And potential Soren's priorities, always in the right place. After some trial and error, our R&D have discovered a number of compounds that are naturally occurring on Earth and relatively harmless to humans, but harmful or toxic to hydrophysiology. When injected into the bloodstream, they produce a mild irritation in humans, but are destructive to hydra cells, including ferrocite cells. This is the cure. Or rather the inoculation. We have formulated a long-lasting version of this cocktail which can be administered by syringe to our personnel and operatives. So long as it is topped up every few days, hydroferrocites introduced into the body will quickly die off, preventing the ferrocites from attaining the critical mass needed to effect mind control. It's a rather crude solution, but it will suffice for now. More importantly, our efforts in analysing the nature of the hydroferrocites has begun to yield results. We believe it should be theoretically possible to breed our own versions of the ferrocite cells in a controlled environment. The hydras produce ferrocites within their own bodies, but there seems no theoretical reason why it should be impossible for us to produce them using our own bio-industrial base. Hey, the power of Big Pharma. Using the new technologies that have been developed in the wake of the hydra arrival, we hope to develop a new, improved form of ferrocite which holds the potential to bring us success in this confrontation. We're complete ferrocite mastery. We're going to build our own ferrocites. Shit, Soren. I think we're going to try and mind control the Hydra. Because humanity first, maybe we're doing the humanity first thing. Either we're doing the humanity first bioweapon, or Soren's talking about controlling the Hydra. Which would be a heck of a way to flip the script. I mean, that's cool, but the things I really want to, I could mind control the Hydra, but seriously, where is the Protectorate? Because I'd love some ferrocites to throw someone out of the White House, because this man right here, Kiran Banerjee, after that day that will live in bloody infamy, this man, he is on my shit list. So, we accomplished a lot this episode. It is July 2032. Next episode, I'm going to set down what technologies we need in order to transition from peace to war. What do we need? What do we need for our ships? What do we need in terms of infrastructure? How are we going to handle the transition from this sort of constant slow burn attritional war that we've been fighting this episode to something that is more where we actually start to try and kick the aliens out of our sector and the stages the war goes through. Anyway, that's some thinking for next episode. For now, I hope you enjoy. I hope you share my... I am so... the Hydra I understand, but this man backstabbing me after I defeat the Hydra, you're so bitter that I actually show that resistance is not futile, that you decide to shank the brave crews of those ships when they go back to their station. Well, it's a lesson I've learnt about repairing versus rearming and then repairing as opposed to doing both at once. Very painful, but a lesson learned. I hope you're all enjoying, and I'll see you all again soon.